We always attach identity to people based on how they look, how they behave, like how tall a person is, what's their skin color, the color of their eyes. We also look at the nature of their emotions, how kind they are, and how sweet basically a person is. But we never give such rankings to plants as well. Like when you look at a plant, you only see it as a tall tree with green leaves, short tree with buttress roots. We rarely consider trees as kind, and in fact it's not moral, it's not viable to consider tree as something that has an emotional aspect that relates to human beings. But when you look deep into the nature of human emotion, you will consider that you will understand that these are just basic reactions to stimuli that plants also have. So the question we have to ask ourselves today is, do plants have emotions? Can a plant be kind? Can it be sad? Yeah, that's the question we need to ask. Well, to answer that question, we need to look at the nature of human emotions. If we wake up one day and you give me a gift, like a birthday gift, I'll react to it with a smile, which is a twitch in my facial muscles. Maybe it's called laughter. It's been given a label, and I could react by thanking you for your gift, like, oh, thank you, which is also another reaction. So basically, the whole scheme of events is a reaction to the act you have done for me. And from growing up, that reaction has been given a label, like this is called happiness. When a child is being taught in their infancy, a simple picture of a smiley face is drawn on a wall, and they are told that this is called happiness. Another sad face is drawn, and they are told that this is called sadness. But basically, this is just a twitch in the facial muscles given a certain label. So, do plants have similar reactions? Yeah, that's the question you need to ask. Now, to look at the nature of people and plants, like we are different but similar to plants in the same sense. Just like plants, human beings have a complicated vascular system with veins, a nervous system, and a brain. So plants have a vascular system consisting of xylem, phloem, scambium fibers that conduct water and nutrients in them. So plants have sensitivity to light, just like we human beings can see. They have sensitivity to touch. In fact, the sensitivity of plants is of a higher scope compared to that of human beings. Like plants can sense chemicals in the cell, for example, protons, which humans may not be able to sense. So this shows that the sensitivity of plants is more than that of animals. And yet we consider them as unable to have emotions. Why? Because an emotion is a really complicated aspect. If you look deep into the structure of an emotion, you see it's a chemical-based reaction. If you do something to me, my central nervous system will release a chemical in me that will cause a certain reaction. But essentially, the same thing happens in plants. For example, an experiment was done where a pea plant was grown next to a bean plant. Now, the bean plant was infested with caterpillars and cuttings. But the pea plant was treated with a fluorescent chemical to understand the reaction that happened to the pea plant once the bean plant was being attacked. So once the caterpillar started destroying, like making cuttings of the leaves of the bean plant, the pea plant was observed, and it was found that a certain chemical was released in the pea plant It's like somehow a warning came from the bean plant the moment it was attacked. So you can consider this as certain stimuli, or maybe the pea plant smelled danger or received a message. And in the other sense, you can consider it as an act of kindness from the bean plant, that it sent a message to the pea plant that, you know what, I'm being attacked, so you should prepare. If you bring this in human terms, it can be called like an act of warning and kindness. It can be labeled an emotion of kindness. And it's because, like, if something bad happens to me and I give a call to my friend and I tell them, you know what, watch out, danger is on the way. So this can be called an emotion of warning. But essentially, you can't give the same label to plants because, we check them as plants. So what I'm trying to mean is that we need to look at the labels we give to the emotions in people, the emotions of sadness, the emotion of kindness. And we need to understand, like, why can't we give the same labels to plants? Like, it's always been that we human beings take ourselves as the central species, like the center of all life on the planet. But if plants can have the same kind of stimulus and reaction to us in a moral sense, why can't we consider them as, like, emotional and kind? Is it because we eat them, like we need to wash off that guilt that, a plant is emotion? Because you can't wake up and eat your fellow human being, it would be immoral, rude, and unkind. But you can eat a plant because you think it's just a plant, it doesn't have feelings, but it has the same reactions like you do to danger, and it can have the same, in fact, it senses more. A plant will see that you are coming because it will pick light from you. It doesn't have eyes to see, but it will pick the light reflected on you, just like every living creature does. It will see that you are cutting, it will feel that you are cutting it down. Yeah, it will feel, and it will release the sap. So you can't label this emotion as pain or something because you can't perceive the feeling. So because our perception as human beings is limited, we can't feel that plants feel in a certain way. So we consider it as null and dumb. Our psychological structure has a tendency of dumbing down all other creatures' reactions to the stimuli that affects them, because maybe it somehow suits our survival. Like, if you need to eat a plant, you have to consider it as just a plant. But essentially, if you look into the biology, this plant has almost the same reactions as you. They are just different. It doesn't have a central nervous system, but its reaction will be different from yours. So I'm not trying to make people feel guilty for cutting down the plants and destroying the plants, but we need to have a certain kind of awareness for this, because if you have this kind of awareness, it will help us understand how best to use the plants, because we need the plants and we need to use them. If you know that if you go into a forest and there are mature plants and the young plants, and you know that if you cut down the young plants or the mature plants, they are aware. Yeah, they are aware. Not the kind of awareness as people have, but they keep memory. Yeah, plants do keep memory. This has been found with certain sensitive plants. For example, the Venus flytrap. Experiments have been proven that this plant can keep a memory of an insect crawling into its trap for about 48 hours. So you go in the forest, you cut down a tree next to another tree. The other tree will keep the memory that you cut down this tree. So how can this affect our characters before plants? Like, if you know that plants have this kind of reactions, though we can't label them as emotions, how are we able to use them in a viable way? Should we first kneel down and pray, or you know what, give me your wood, give me your food before I cut you down? But in a sense, we need to plan the way we harvest these plants. If you go in a forest and you want timber, you can look for old trees that are about to die and maybe cut those down and give a chance to the younger generation. Because you know Hollywood movies, for example, if you watch the movie Titanic, when they are rescuing the people that are going to sink on the boat, they first rescue the young and the women. And they say, you know what, man, you need to first give us a break. You need to save for the future generation. This has a moral sense and also a certain sense in the social setup of society. Because it leaves an emotional impact on the kids and the women that are valued more. Now go to a forest, you see the old trees and the young trees. So you know what, so you choose to cut down the young trees. Of course the old trees are watching, not with eyes, but with senses. So you need to understand that maybe let me cut the old trees first, yeah? Yeah, so the young trees will feel good, eh? Yeah, so essentially, I'm not trying to make you imagine a lot of things, but we need to ask ourselves these questions. I'm not here to give you answers to whether plants have emotions or not, but you need to look into this biology and give an answer to yourself. If a plant can react to something that happens to another plant away from it, a reaction that we also have, that means they have a similar understanding of life than we have, or even more, because they are more sensitive to us. I hope this can affect the way we make our decisions as human beings. Yeah, so the question still stands from, do plants have emotions? So I leave you to think for yourself.